okay, let me get down here with you. I love that song so much. I had a hard time not just joining in.
By all means, you can jam it again for you.
Now that's a song where it's just like really straight ahead as far as a form, like a verse, it's kind of medium, pumping up, that boundaries part, I mean that's like, okay, here's a 3-second snippet on the radios. Boundaries broken up. You know you're there, boundaries right there.
Right, exactly.
So this song just like screams.
It's a punk song adapted to acoustic guitar, actually.
Well, you know, it kind of works both ways, because I mean here it's kind of like you get, because it's got a tender message in there. I mean there's it's about boundaries, it's kind of like deep stuff, but then also if you can hear just jam, it's like a fun song. I mean I just think it lifted up the room right here. So how'd you write it?
Okay, the original riff went like this.
Yeah, which is
1, 2, 3. You know, I mean, it was just a loud riff.
Okay, first off, what in the heck are those kind of chords you're playing? No one's ever seen those. They sound normal, but you look funny.
Just messing around in the studio. I'm just in drop D, and here's your E note now. Here's my melody.
Okay.
That's my melody, and I'm holding my bass down. I mean, it's effective use of open strings on that song.
Actually, teach me that one. Just that last chord there.
Sure.
Tell me what your fingers are. Now I've got you there. What's the...
So you're doing it in drop D, your bar chords, your power chords sort of turn into one of these. You're popping up to the 7th fret on your index finger.
So you're just fingering this one, and the top one, and the 3 are little...
Just rings out, kind of diminished, you know?
Okay, you learn something new all the time.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Bob Moulden, like Husker Du, and stuff like Peter Buck from REM, even though the music I play does not reflect it usually, but they have a lot of, it's like economy of what you're doing. You just, a lot of things open, you know? That whole Birds thing, Roger McGuinn thing, where you have a lot of open stuff ringing out, and it sort of covers, you know, your fingers are playing the bass lines, and your picks just sort of hitting those strings.
And it makes a melody, right?
Exactly.
So did you start this with that little melody before you started doing vocals?
What do you mean?
I mean, were you just jamming this riff?
Yeah. I had the riff for a long time.
Before you did any singing or anything?
Yeah, I used to just jam on the riff, and I had the music was all written before I even had a word. The entire song, and I've done that a lot. Where I'll write because I used to have the hardest problem with lyrics. Just couldn't come up with anything that made any sense, and thinking too much about it. So I used to write entire songs of music, and so I could have written
like a melody you're humming but no words, or just like jamming chords and there's room for a melody on it.
Yeah, that one there was room for a melody.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I wasn't sure where I was going with it, and I didn't go where I intended to go. My intention was to be more in that, like in that Husker Du vein, and he sings much lower. And but it's that high energy riff kind of thing, and it just worked out that way. And I actually demoed it that way, and I loved it. But it just never translated with any bands I was playing that way. And just for kicks, I played it acoustic one time and saw, okay, what happens if you bring it backwards? And actually, it was less out of control. It was way more controlled, slowing it down and playing it that way.
So the lyrics are tough, but I think this is a really strong lyric, and it's a really emotional lyric.
Yeah.
It had to come from somewhere. It had to pop out. When was it popping out? What was it? And also, is this like another thing is just all living in your head? You wrote it down, or?
I had no words, but for a long time. It was a nice little instrumental demo, bass, drums, full shot. Could have been a shouting chorus if I wasn't careful. But at the time, I had a significant female living in my presence who I didn't want there, and she had invited herself in, and this is one of those times where everything clicks, And the whole drive home from rehearsal, that was when the chorus came into my head, and boundaries. You're crossing my lines everywhere I turn. You're there, and it's wow.
So it's right out of reality.
It was totally out of reality, totally, and. So when I got home that evening, open the door, and there she is. And I immediately darted into the garage like I was busy doing something, and all of a sudden there's the lyrics. You know, it just the situation. You know, all of a sudden I could say what I couldn't say to her face for 2 months. Sad to say. Don't think I'm not cruel. I'm a nice guy. But yeah, so you get yourself into situations. You meet interesting people along your life, and you have to. Kind of the basis of the song is you have to decide where you want those people in your life, how close you want them in there.
So really, I mean, for you, it's not like you're not like, okay, I've got this assignment. I'm going to write this song. This would be a great song for Brittany or for something like that. You're just writing straight from your heart.
Always, because that's what I know how to write. That's where it always comes from. There's been a few where I've written, you know, or I've written it for someone else, but you know, they're never to know it type of thing. You know, you're trying to say something to someone else, but it's like those letters that you write but you never give.
And so you had the boundaries came in your head, and how did the verses come after that? Is it like all the same kind of way?
You know what? It follows the melody line. Nothing more that I can say, nothing we can do. You know, it kind of follows that. So that's basically the melody line. So little did I realize that I had established the vocal melody already before I even wrote the lyric. You know, it was sitting there waiting for me. It was in my fingers. It just wasn't in my throat. So so that's where that came up. And the chorus is where it stays a little more true to my original intention. You know, that boundaries are broken. Listen to any, you know, of that, like the old Sugar stuff and whatever, and it's usually a few words that they carry out and they stretch out instead of trying to fit in 50 words. And so, again, that was the part that stayed true to the original in terms of like the delivery.
Well, I think it's a great song.
Thanks.
Really cool.
What more can I tell you about it? I could go on for hours, but I won't.
So I know you play in a band called Drag. You also play acoustic shows by yourself, and I just happen to know you're a semi-regular at the Hub in Fullerton, right?
Yes.
So is it someone can check you out there?
Sure.
On a semi-regular basis. You know, if you want any more information about the show, The Hook, if you want to participate, send us something. The email address is plutone@earthlink.net. That's PLUTONE at earthlink.net. Or else just check out the credits, start your VCRs right now, and contact us later. Love to hear from you. So semi-regular there. What are your plans for the immediate future?
Working on a few things. I've got some recordings that we're working on with Drag. I'm also doing 2 different solo things. One's more acoustic based, like the live sets are, and one's more bass drums, guitar based type of thing. So.
Well, thank you for being my guest.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful having you here today.
Thank you all. Yeah,
and we'll see you the next time on The Hook. So, take us out.
All right. Love.